Hey, good morning, folks. Hope you're doing all right. Ooh, it was real cold this morning. That was...
Be a little less really cold later.
Yeah, it's supposed to get a little bit nicer, but you know, it hasn't been too bad, so I can't complain.
Breaking your flow, do you know how to deal with the car doing that perma or lifting up on the inside thing because it's so cold?
No, I'm terrible at cars, so if it's, I just have to start it early and then wait for it to warm up. If anyone has any tricks about how to help it defrost on the inside, that's good too. Why does the lighting seem so funny? I think the camera's all screwy. Hey, that's better. Nope, and then it fades. But all right, so we are here for object-oriented programming in Java. This is essentially the Java 2 course, the second one here in our programming track. So sorry for the late notice. It's been a little bit of a weird semester. So we'll be doing this course remotely. I think most of you folks found Twitch, so awesome. You're all here. Yeah, got a couple people at least. So if you like watching live, great. You can join via Twitch. If you like watching recordings, all of these recordings are going to get archived out to my YouTube channel. And you're welcome to follow along asynchronously if that's more your style. So whatever's going to work, I guess one of those two, whichever of those two work better for your schedule, I'm fine with that. So we're going to be live Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's a lab-based class, so like we'll do stuff and then you'll practice it. We'll do stuff and then you'll practice it. So I don't plan on talking ever till 11:50. At the latest, my goal is to go till about 10:30, so you still have not quite half an hour to start practicing some of these things. So we'll talk a little bit more about the course schedule in a minute here. This is my cell number. I've got a number on campus, but I don't use that ever. So, and the voicemail there says, please don't leave me voicemails, call my cell. But people still leave me voicemails. It's really weird. But use this. Anytime between like 8 in the morning and midnight, it's fine to call, text. You can send me a message on Discord. You can email me. It's not too hard to get a hold of usually. But I do have 6 kids at home, and they keep me a little bit busy when I'm not here. So if I don't answer, let me know what time's a good time to call back. If you want to chat real early in the morning, great. If you want to chat real late at night, great. You know, just tell me what time is okay to call back, because one time I called someone back at 11 p.m. and they were upset with me. It's like, I'm just returning your call, and they're like, no, I have to be at work at 6 in the morning. So they were kind of upset with me. So thankfully, I don't have to work at 6 in the morning. This is the copy paste of the course catalog description. It shouldn't be anything interesting. 1500 was our prereq, so we've assumed you've taken at least one programming course before in Java. Have gotten through some graphical user interface programming, although I hear that's ever so slightly hit or miss. But generally, everyone should have had some sort of experience with that. So, and I forgot, I got to pull chat up here on my phone, so don't forget. We'll start with the basics for graphical programming, so don't sweat that too much, but other experience programming is assumed. Where's my... There we go. Specific things we're going to look at. Critical thinking is huge when it comes to programming because you have to learn how to solve problems. As much as we like to say programming is an art, there really is a science to it, which is really cool because you get a chance to think about problems and design solutions and try and figure out good ways to solve problems or any way to solve problems. And everyone's going to approach it a little bit differently. So this idea of critical thinking is really big in terms of being effective as a programmer. And then specific things for the course we're going to get into as we go throughout the semester. If you understand how Java applications work, including modules, how they get compiled and executed in the Java runtime environment. And this is what's really cool about Java, right? We get this multi-system supported runtime environment. So just because you write a Java program on a Windows computer doesn't mean it's only going to run in Windows. Right? So ideally they're portable, they don't care what operating system they're running on, and we run Java on all sorts of devices, which is pretty cool. So there's a lot of power there, and that's sort of code. We're going to look deeper into inheritance, so hopefully you had a chance to talk briefly about it last semester. We'll talk more about inheritance, take a deep dive there. We'll talk about composition, how we design classes, build them together. Talk about polymorphism, how we can make classes be treated as their parent class type. All sorts of fun stuff here. Access specifiers, whether or not you're public, protected, or private. This idea that we want to hide all of our details away. We want to keep all of our attributes private. Don't let anyone else mess with them. We'll look at abstract classes and interfaces as well. Those probably don't make a lot of sense yet, and that's okay. We'll get there. We'll talk about static class members and how they differ from instance fields. So again, when we look at classes, we're going to try and differentiate between those two. We're going to do exception handling, including user-defined exceptions. This is a good way when we're doing proper object-oriented programming that we're going to separate our concerns. So we're going to make sure that the code that's supposed to do stuff that we write, all the business logic, can communicate or send exceptions back to whoever calls it and asks it to do bad things, if bad things happen. We'll look at stream input and output operations. So this is all file operations with text and binary content. So you should have done some text-based file input-output last semester. Hopefully that rings some bells. We're going to look at the other type here, doing it with binary content and whether or not it's sequential or random file access. There's some fun file things we're going to get to. Then we move over to more graphical programming. So we're not going to do Swing. We're going to stick to Java FX this semester. So if you've done Swing before, it's okay. Hopefully everyone else did Java FX. You'll be at least done something with it, and we'll take that a little farther here. Have multiple layouts and event handling. We'll have a little bit of fun with it. Talk a little bit about Java annotations, like what does an at override mean? That one's kind of boring. And then design documentation for programmer-defined components using standard notation or UML class diagrams. So UML class diagrams are fantastic. When we talk about classes, we're going to get into how we can draw our diagrams. There's all sorts of great tools for this, or we just have the lazy tool of doing it in Microsoft Word. Honestly, it's not so bad to do it in Word, but other tools are good too. And then we'll spend a little bit of time talking about design patterns at the end, specifically singletons, adapters, and factories, right at the end of the semester. I don't expect you to use any of these, but just we're kind of introducing the topic. If you do continue on in computer science, you'll likely have like a senior level class on design patterns. But we want to get this idea in your head that there's some common patterns we're going to use. All right, we're using, hopefully it was the same book you had for 1500 last semester. If you've had a little bit of time in between the two, it's a different book. So this is Murrock's Java Programming 5th edition. Either ISBN should work. This should be for the physical edition. This should be for the digital version. There is a 6th edition out there now, but it wasn't released in time for us to adopt it because things take forever, unfortunately. So we're sticking with that 5th edition, and then you didn't have to get a new book between them, which should be nice. So OCC's bookstore, your favorite online bookstore, wherever you want to find it, you should be in good shape there. And then specific for this course, we're going to use a couple other tools. So GitHub is a hosting provider of the Git source control tool. Gives you a cloud-based central repository for storing code, which is fantastic. So Git as a source control tool is all about storing source code. So our friend Linus Torvald, the creator of Linux, was frustrated with the previously current available options for source control and said he could do better, so he came up with Git. And yes, he did do better. Git is by far and wide the industry standard for source control tools. Not everyone uses it, but just about everybody nowadays switched over to Git. So and GitHub then sells their services to organizations to be that cloud-based central repository for everyone to synchronize with. It's fantastic. So we'll use GitHub. I'm a fan of the GitHub desktop client for interacting with GitHub repositories, just because this will be the same no matter what application you use, what programming language you use. You can always use the desktop client. Other tools have direct integrations. I wouldn't worry too much about it. If you like those, great, but I'm going to show everyone the GitHub desktop client. The link, again, for Discord. This is where all my office hours will be done remotely. I'll be hanging out in Discord. We can meet in Zoom, too, if you'd like, although it killed my computer yesterday and was really upset. So I did not have much luck with Zoom, which was kind of unfortunate, but we'll see how it goes. And a web browser. Then tools for Java development. We'll be using Netbeans. Hopefully everyone used Netbeans last semester. I've heard not everyone did, but we're working on that. Trying to do something a little bit nicer than JGrasp. So NetBeans is a full-featured integrated development environment. It is a little bit quirky sometimes. It can be a little bit silly, but most of the time it's fantastic, really powerful. It's got some great tools we're going to take advantage of. Some nice little shortcuts that just make life a little easier. I'm going to show you how to use the Open Jdk. So a while back, Oracle came and bought Java, or acquired. I don't actually know how the whole thing happened. And what had previously always been just an open source, free to use language, they decided they wanted to now license people. You had to pay a license fee, and it's not even outrageous. It's not a lot of money to pay for this license fee, but it rubbed a lot of people in the community the wrong way that they would take this language that had previously been free and start trying to charge money for it. And I guess you've got to make money as a business, but so because it was an open source program, there's a little bit of a split, and now there's an Open Jdk, an actual open source version that kind of follows along the Oracle supported version. So I use the Open Jdk. That's what Dr. Ball uses. He's a lot smarter than I am, so when he told me that's what he does, I said, okay, I'll do that too. And then when we get into graphical user interface programming, we're going to use the OpenJFX libraries. This is to do our Java FX graphical user interface programming. And then we're going to use the tool Scene Builder to get a nice drag and drop environment for building our user interfaces. It's fantastic. If you don't want to install all that stuff, you're welcome to use the virtual desktops here at OCC. So from home, you can connect in. Just follow this link, pick the right operating system, whether or not you're on Windows or Mac or anything. There is a web-based one, but I've heard it doesn't work well. So they've said don't recommend the web one. So install the actual Horizon VMware client. It will connect to these virtual machines. You should be in good shape. The downside of the virtual machines is they don't have GitHub already installed. It's installs per user, so it's even like kind of hard to install ahead of time. But because these virtual machines are used by everyone across the school, they wipe themselves when you log out. So when you are done using it, anything you had there is gone. So make sure, and this we're going to follow along with on the GitHub client, is that everything we work on gets synchronized out with the GitHub cloud, and we're not going to lose anything. So every time you log in, we'll have to download GitHub and log in. It'll be a little bit obnoxious, but it's like 2 minutes. So it doesn't add a whole lot of friction to the workflow. Shouldn't be too bad. Oh, look at someone wants me to buy followers. That sounds fantastic. Where's my ban button here? Come on. Bring out the ban hammer. Oh my goodness, it's not loading. There it goes. Ban. Account created in 2015? Really? Wow. That's an old spammy thing. That's neat. Oh, go away. Okay, the little pop-out window's obnoxious. That's right. Yep, throw out those coffee emotes. Thanks for following along. All right, so those are the tools we're going to use. Again, I'll show you how to do all these. If you don't have them already installed, or if you want to use a virtual desktop, great. We do have lab space available if you prefer coming to campus. The home environment doesn't work well for getting stuff done or don't have the right equipment. We've got space in the Academic Support Center. We've got a dedicated lab we can use there. The library has computers we can use, and because they're all these virtual machines, you can use them. It's fantastic. It'll get all the right software on for you. And I believe there's even a few Chromebooks you can check out, either from the library or the Academic Support Center. I'll double check. They have sent some information about that. But if you're running into any issues, let me know. I'll help get you set up and running with this software. Course policies for assessment. No, assessment policies and procedures. My goodness. I'm inserting words that don't exist there. On plagiarism and cheating, I take this very seriously. It's a very large pet peeve of mine when people cheat. This is engaging in academic dishonesty will receive a failing grade for the course and be reported to the dean's office. And if I recall correctly, our deans college-wide keep track of this sort of thing, and we have a 3-strike policy. So after 3 infractions, you will be expelled and no longer be welcome to be a student here. And I know it seems a little bit harsh, but honestly, it's in your best interests that people don't cheat and get degrees. Because if we give someone a degree and they cheated their way through and they don't actually know how to do the things they were supposed to learn to do, when they get hired, their employer is going to think we did a terrible job educating people. They'll get fired, and then they won't hire other people from OCC because they think we just did a terrible job. And that's bad for everybody. So I try hard to make sure cheaters don't pass. I might not catch everybody. You know, in the 10 years of doing this, I'm pretty confident to say I haven't caught everybody, but pretty much every semester I've had to fail at least one person for cheating, which is really depressing. It's a lot of paperwork I have to fill out. It's this whole process. I have to document all sorts of things, and I have to send it out. It irritates me, and I get grumpy, and then my wife gets irritated because I'm grumpy, and I'm complaining about it. So I'm not dumb. I know there's this website called Stack Overflow that has all sorts of code and solutions to things. And honestly, as a professional developer, I've never had an employer say, hey, solve this problem, but please don't look online. Don't look anything up online. Do it all out of your head. That's insane. So I know there are things out there. So my goal when I give you assignments is it's not something you can just go Google, find the answer, copy paste. Right? If part of the problem that you need to solve, like, oh, hey, you had to do something with prime numbers, and you went out and found, okay, here's a way to check to see if the number's prime, and you took one little piece here. If you cite your source, that is not plagiarism. Right? Plagiarism is copy pasting and not giving credit to the originator. right? So just like an English paper, we can take other people's ideas and cite them in the midst of our original work. That's fantastic. What is not okay, and you wouldn't do for English, is copy-paste 5 pages of quotes, or a single quote that's 5 pages long, and say, hey, here's my paper written by so-and-so. Look, I cited my source, right? Because that's not your work. That's not original work at that point. So if you're not sure, ask me, right? I do try to make these assignments not Googleable. If you find something, ask me, and we'll talk about it. Again, generally, copy-pasting the entire thing is no good, but if you find, hey, here's a piece of what I can use, and I can adapt this and take it and run with it, that's fantastic. We'll cite our source. So generally, Azusa, for citing something, I'll say just leave a comment in the code, like a little code comment for, hey, here's where I got it from, right, wherever that piece of code that you've copied is. So if you copy a function or a method, just at the start of the method, we'll put a little comment in the code, and I'll show you how to do that. I actually frequently cite myself because I've got all my old course stuff, all my GitHub repositories for the course out there, and I forget to do things sometimes, so I just go back and copy off myself. So I'll show you how to do that. So if you're not sure, ask me, right? Ask me ahead of time. No big deal. That being said, you can cite your source on things, but you may not use Chegg under any circumstances. Chegg is a terrible website full of awful people, and I hope they get sued and go out of business. And actually, they're in the midst of getting sued by a publisher, which is also, Pearson is also awful. So I hope they both lose a lot of money off of that. But I had someone say, oh, look, I cited a source on Chegg.com, but it turns out they were the one that also posted the question that said, hey, please solve this problem that Eric wrote. So don't post questions there. Don't cite answers posted there. Chegg or similar websites, what is it, Course Hero, or there's like 3 or 4 of them now that are all terrible. Don't use them. Right? Any use of those websites will be considered academic misconduct. They are full of terrible people. Do your own work. Okay. The OCC handbook quote here. So plagiarism is the big one we run into. In addition to plagiarism, which is presenting someone else's work as your own without giving credit to them, other forms of academic dishonesty like acquisition of tests, getting copies of tests, sharing copies of tests, other material distribution of the same. Also includes students who aid and abet such behavior. So if your classmate says, hey, can I just see your project? I just want to see how you did this. Tell them to get lost. Because if you show them your code or send it to them and they turn in your code with their name on it, you're both guilty of cheating. Because 2 people have turned in the same work. So tell them to get lost. There might be a PDF of the book, but do me a favor and don't ask in the middle of class chat. I'm not supposed to encourage that sort of thing. So thankfully the Prereq book is relatively cheap, but try and take that offline if you don't mind. Other copy-paste stuff, student code of conduct, make sure your classroom corridors are quiet. This is kind of silly in our remote environment, but sure, that's all there. The grading policy. This is what most people seem to care about. So in terms of getting your total final score in the class, I use a weighted system, which people have told me is confusing, and I always assume that means I didn't explain it well. So of all the lab assignments that you have to do, all those points will get totaled up, and whatever you got out of that total points, it makes up 10% of your final score. So if you did 90% of the labs, right, you'd get 9 out of 10% of your final score here. Right, so 100% of labs means that 10% of your final scores is locked in. So for the projects, that's 30% of your overall score. So we'll do individual projects throughout the semester as well, in addition to the labs. So the labs are like, hey, we talked about this thing in class, you go do that thing. It's not anything really interesting. You're not really solving any interesting problems. It's just a quick check to see, okay, can I apply the concept we just talked about? The projects are big things to solve. And I've been told the projects I give are sometimes vague or open-ended, or some people have said confusing. I feel like if we just talk about it a little bit more, they're less confusing. But the deal with the project is I'm not telling you exactly how to do things. I said, here's the task you have to go accomplish. You go do it. And then you can take the tools and techniques that we've learned in class and do more than what we did in the book in class. right? I'm showing you how to use them. You have to be a little bit creative. You have to problem solve, figure out how to put these things together right to solve these projects. That being said, they're not impossible, and most people are quite successful at projects. If you get stuck on something, please reach out and ask before the last day or the day that it's due. I'm happy to meet with folks and get you unstuck. So generally, I'll say work for a good half hour to an hour of, banging your head against the wall is not a great term for this, but if you're stuck on something, like keep trying. Try a couple things, approach it a different way for, no more than an hour before you reach out to me. Because oftentimes all it's going to take is 5 to 10 minutes of me looking at something, pointing you in the right direction, and then you're unstuck. I had someone tell me they spent like 10 hours straight trying to solve something that it ended up being a 2-minute fix. And I felt terrible. They wasted their whole day. They were frustrated and mad and upset that they wasted an entire day before they came to talk to me, and we're all pissed off. So do reach out. You're welcome to ask general questions of your classmates if something isn't clear, like, oh, hey, what do we do, this sort of thing. And Discord's a great place for that. So we've got a channel here just for this class. You can pop in to the CIS 2151 class channel, ask any generic kind of questions that you want. If it's something specific to your code, please don't post your code in here. Like you can send me that as a message or an email or send me a link over Discord. Happy to get specific questions pointed the right way as well. But general questions, great. Ask in class. You can ask the tutors, that sort of thing. So don't wait till the last minute on projects. I think that's the biggest advice I've gotten from asking other students what you tell people. We'll do a quiz for not every chapter, because we kind of go through a bunch of them originally with some review. But when we get into the hopefully what is new material, we'll do a quiz on every chapter out of the textbook. So they're open book, open notes, open internet. They're not time bound aside from having a due date. So we'll go over the material, and then a week later that quiz will be due. So you've got a week after we've talked about it in class to get that quiz done and in. So that's the only time limit on it. We'll have one exam, just a midterm. It's not worth a lot. 10% is still a decent amount of your overall points here, but it's not like 30% of your grade in a single exam, so hopefully that's less stress there. I'll give you last semester, or I taught this last in the summer, so I'll give you the summer midterm, so you can see how I write questions, what they look like, that sort of thing. So half the midterm is quiz-style questions, and half the midterm is programming questions. Please write something to accomplish A, B, and C. So we'll practice that when we get there. Open book, open notes, open internet. Again, no one ever tells professional developers to do stuff off the top of their head, because that's dumb. You're going to use your resources. And this will be open all week long for you as well, just like the chapter quizzes. So it's not even, you have to do this in a 4-hour block or a 2-hour block or anything. And then the last piece here is a final project. The last month of class, all April, we'll be working on this final project that makes up 40% of your overall score. The idea here is you need to be able to complete this final project to pass the class. Right? If you don't get the 40%, you can't get above a 60. You can't get anything above an F without completing that project. Yeah, don't start projects late for the last minute. Definitely. All right, cool. For an N grade, given that we're going to be remote, if you don't turn things in the first 3 weeks, you run the risk of getting an N grade. I'll be in contact with you before I assign anything, don't worry. And this is almost never an issue. I don't take things late, anything, without prior approval. When a project is due, that project is going to be due at 10 a.m. the day of class, because that day in class, I'm going to go over how I would solve that problem and go over a solution to the project. So given that I'm going to go over a solution to the project, I can't take it late because now I've shown everyone a solution. So plan accordingly for that as well. For FERPA, right, you have privacy things. If you ask anything about a grade, I'm going to tell you to look at Desire to Learn. All the grade information is there. If you need any sort of accommodations through the Americans with Disabilities Act, contact the Access Office. They'll get in touch with me, and then we can chat. Most things I find don't apply. I have classes recorded, and you can watch the recordings. So those sort of like note-taking kind of things generally don't apply, best I can tell. And then time and a half is a common accommodation for people like with dyslexia or other disabilities. And given nothing has a fixed time, no one has ever said, oh, I need a week and a half. because we have the entire week to go about doing this sort of thing. So if you do need some sort of accommodations, please let me know. I'm happy to work with you once I've got the paperwork from the Access office. But hopefully most of that is alleviated given the format and other things going on. All right. This Academic Support Center that we have is actually one of the coolest things about OCC, I think. This entire office is dedicated to student support. So if you're new to college, they run all sorts of study skills seminars, college prep seminars on how to be prepared. It's a much different environment. I had someone last semester tell me this was their first semester of college. They just gotten out of high school in a pandemic year, and that was nuts. And it's a rough way to start. So take a look. They've got all sorts of resources there if you're having any trouble. Then the other cool thing they do is no additional charge tutoring. I don't like to use the word free because it's not free. It's been paid for already by your tuition and tax dollars. So they don't charge you for meeting with tutors. Right? There's no charge for meeting with them, but it has been paid by someone. So that sort of thing. Yesterday we didn't have the winter schedule yet, so I'm going to be surprised this morning. And it's still the fall schedule. So unfortunately, we don't have the winter schedule yet, but Miss Rika and Mr. Tim both tutor for this course, 2151. They're fantastic. Rika's been a tutor with us for a long time, so has Mr. Tim as well. They're awesome. So they'll have a couple hours throughout the week that you can book 1 hour slots with them. The only thing they ask is you don't no call, no show. If you, I believe it's twice, don't show up to tutoring appointments, they're not going to let you book any new ones. So do keep that in mind ahead of time. If I'm going to teach 1420 or 1200. So I've taught 1200 before. I did an online section last semester. I don't have plans to do it currently for the summer. I don't think for the fall either, but as things come up, I try and help the department fill things in as we go. 1420 is, I believe, generally taught by one of our adjuncts. That's HTML5 programming, I think. So, yeah, the tutoring is fantastic. Take advantage of that if you've got the time. And if you do take some time meeting with the tutor, have them shoot me a message, say that you met, and I'll even give you a bonus point on the quiz for that week in case you didn't, if you missed a question there. So I'm encouraging people to go to these sessions if they can make it. For D2L technical support, like, hey, the website's not working, call them. Anything content-wise is me. It should be fine. The technology appropriate use regulations, you all agreed to it when you logged into the virtual machines. I think we might even agree to it logging into D2L. Hi, you here for 2151?
What's that?
2151?
Yes.
Yep. So the idea here is don't do bad things on college resources or you'll lose access to them. It's really hard to complete a class. Can you put your mask on, please? If you don't have access to college resources. Netiquette, I'm real informal. Interrupt me anytime. My only ask here really is please don't send me emails in all caps. That's the internet equivalent of yelling. Let's just not do that, please. Anything else, it's good practice to try and work towards being professional. So these are all good tips, but you don't need to send me really fancy emails, dear professor, sir, so-and-so, yada, 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 yada. That's fine. No big deal. The link for scheduling tutoring is here. So you call the Academic Support Center or email them here for it. Yep. So through the Orchard Ridge campus, generally we have the tutors here who tutor for the programming courses. Or you can follow that link. Oh my goodness, that was fun. Where'd it go? There it is here. Generally through Orchard Ridge. Tim does have hours at other campuses occasionally because he also tutors for math. So he's been found sometimes at Southfield or Royal Oak, I feel like. But once you get a chance to chat with them, you can see. Yep. So Mr. Pup, only today is the room open for in-class. Every other day here on out is going to be just remote, as is the idea. So they asked us to show up the first day of class. here in person, just in case the memo didn't go out, because it was a real late switch to switch over to remote. So I'm only here the first day. Gotta watch Seinfeld? Huh. I just never really got into that show, but some of it's good. For public safety, again, we're not really here in person. Not most of this doesn't apply, but if you have any issues with online harassment, we're more than happy to get them involved to make sure you have a safe learning environment. As for me, my goal is to have things graded within a week of when they are due, not when you turn it in, but of the due date. I'm generally decent at this for the first good half of the semester, maybe, and then things start to slow down a little bit. I'll let you know. I'm getting better, but still, it's a little crazy sometimes for getting stuff graded. But I'll do my best to get things in and turned around for you, so you know where your score is. And then for responsive communications, if you haven't heard from me in 24 hours, please reach out again. I might have lost it in the pile somewhere, or maybe my son dismissed it playing YouTube videos on my phone. Discord goes right to my phone. Email goes right to my phone. Obviously, phone calls and texts go right to my phone. So I should see everything really quick. The longest class I have is a 4-hour class. I check emails before I go to bed because I'm always on my phone. So that sort of thing. Oh, thanks for following along. I love that emote just spams everywhere. It's so fun. All right, and then our course schedule. So this is the tentative plan for what we're going to cover throughout the semester. It might change if we need it to. We'll see how it goes. Today, all I had planned was the course introduction and showing you GitHub. Course intro and tools. On Thursday, and we're Thursday, I can remember this, we're going to do a super quick review of just some Java fundamentals. Anything chapters 1 through 6 essentially in the text. All things you should have covered previous class. We're going to blitz through them, and then we'll talk about our first lab. The week after that, we're going to get into arrays and array lists. Array lists out of Chapter 12. Chapter 12 has a lot of other stuff as well, but we're just going to look at the array list portion, and then we'll look at file, input, and output. And then we'll get our first project, Project 0. If you've spent any time with arrays, arrays always start with index 0, so that's our joke here. This is Project 0. In addition, we'll also have a lab that week. So every week that we have content, we'll have a lab, but the projects are every 2 weeks, essentially. Then we'll spend a decent amount of time taking a deep dive here on chapters 7 through 10, classes, inheritance, interfaces, object-oriented programming techniques. So we'll jump in there, chapter 7 through 10 for 2 weeks, introduce project 1, and then we'll spend some more time looking at unit testing. Not everyone covers this in 1500. So once we've built out classes, how do we test them to make sure that they work? After that, we get into exceptions from chapter 16. This one's a little bit lighter here. There's not as much to get into, which is nice because that's kind of prep for midterm. I've got all week reserved for the midterm. Generally, these classes are 4-hour night classes, not a split 2-hour throughout the week. So like the previous exam was made to be like, hey, it's a 1 4-hour sitting here, so I give you both class periods for it. You should be able to get it done easily within that 4 hours is the goal. It's a little funky planning for these things, but again, it'll be open on 2/22, and it won't be due for a week, so you'll have lots of time. Everything should be done. Project 1 will be in and due. Midterm will be done, so you can actually have a midwinter break that first week of March. So nothing to do for class for the beginning of March. Should work out pretty well. So we get through the first half of class, get into the midterm, and we're good to go. So, Kaiser, so we're going to have small little lab assignments for every chapter. It's just a quick little practice this thing that we talked about, where the projects are the actual, this is a big, hey, here's a big task to solve. The lab is like, hey, when we talked about loops, go and write a loop that counts to 10. Right? That's not a very interesting thing, but it's a quick little practice. So it's almost like participation points at that point. Hydration, thank you so much, Rochelle. Unfortunately, I'm here in class. I brought my coffee cup because I'm going to step out in a little bit and take a break. Because it's actually super dry to like talk for an hour straight and not be able to take sips of coffee. But I brought it with me so I can step out and take some coffee in a little bit, and I will hydrate. Not every chapter, like when we do a blitz through chapters 1 through 6, no, we'll have pretty much one lab per week is the goal, Kaiser. So we'll have one lab that covered all 1 through 6. We'll have one lab for arrays and file I/O. We'll have one lab for the first part of classes inheritance. We'll have another lab for the second part of it. We'll have another lab for unit tests. We'll have a lab for exceptions, that sort of thing. Hydrate or dihydrate, yeah. And after we get back from break, then we're going to switch gears back over to our graphical user interface programming. We'll talk about Java FX from Chapter 17, spend some additional time looking at supplemental material. So Project 2 is a Java FX-based project. And then we get to pick up some fun Java topics, additional things we get here in the book. We'll look at database programming. We'll look at using Lambda expressions. We'll look at multi-threading, annotations, and design patterns. And the first week in April, we'll introduce the final project. So there's 4 individual projects, and then the final project, you're welcome to pair up with somebody. I know we're in the midst of a global pandemic, so if you don't want to pair up with somebody, that's fine. You're welcome to tackle this one individually. Generally, I would require pairing because it's a good experience, just good practice, but that's fine. We'll make do with what we have. That final project, then, we've got the second to last week of class set aside for nothing but working on the final project. I don't have any plans to talk at all. I'll just set aside meeting times during in-class time and regular office hours for meeting with folks to work on that final project, get it out the door. And then on April 28th, you will all present your final projects to the class. So we'll dump Twitch for the day. We'll switch over to Zoom where everyone can take turns screen sharing, and everyone gets a chance to show their final project. So yeah, Twitch is a fun platform, actually. So it's come a long way. All right, so that is the syllabus. Any other thoughts, questions, or concerns? Yeah, so I've been using Twitch since before the pandemic. I had a class over at U of M Dearborn, and it was a 3-credit night class. And it was only taught in the winter, so I would teach it every winter. And someone had said, hey, it'd be really nice, if you could record stuff, and if the weather's bad and we can't make the drive in, then we could watch the recording. I said, oh, okay, I've heard of this thing called Twitch because I would watch people on Twitch. I was like, I bet I could do that. So I got started. I didn't even have my camera set up for the first while, and didn't have anything pretty. It was just my screen sharing, but it worked out halfway decent. So I kept doing that for classes. And then you had that option, right? So if you wanted to show up live or you couldn't make it in, you could just hop on Twitch, which is kind of fun. So it's a nice little platform, I think, and hasn't been too crazy. So yeah, I've not done much Zoom throughout the pandemic, and the few times I do, it's a bunch of black screens, and then we're still just screen sharing, and it's not really different. The one advantage that Zoom has is there's voice chat for you participants, you folks. So if you'd like to talk to me over voice, you can hop on the Discord server, and I've got this lecture voice chat channel. I can hop in there, and then you can chat to me, talk to me over voice, and ask questions that way. So I've offered it throughout the entire pandemic, and I've never had anyone take me up on it. So, nope, I don't see anybody. So you don't have to worry about cameras or microphones or any of that nonsense. So, and then everything automatically gets archived on Twitch, and then there's a one-click button for me to send it over to YouTube, because it only stays on Twitch for about 45 days. So I'll send it over to YouTube after the fact, and I'll post all the links. So here in D2L, it's empty at the moment, but in the content section, that zoomed in right? I've got this lecture archive section here, and I'll start putting all the links to the YouTube videos. So as soon as we're done, I export. It takes maybe half an hour, I think, for the whole process. Usually it's a little quicker than that, but it has to then do some processing, so it takes a little while. Then it will show up and you can watch it later. No, today's the only day we're here in person in the classroom face-to-face. The rest of the semester will be remote. It's just given the last minute switch here, we wanted to come in person and kind of explain the process. So, all right, that's it for the syllabus. Hopefully you had a chance to check out my profile or Google me. I'm the only Eric Chinesky in the world. It should be pretty easy. And we can go from there. Oh, the textbook slides are out here too, if you like PowerPoint slides. I don't like people reading to me, so I don't use PowerPoint slides. That's my particular style. Generally, that works well for people. I've had 2 or 3 people, tell me they don't like my style, and honestly, that's okay. Like it doesn't have to work for everybody, and everyone learns a little bit different. So the slides are out here for you if you like that sort of thing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to open Netbeans and I'm going to write code and talk about code in class. That's what we do. We write a lot of code. We talk about a lot of code. Reading PowerPoint slides is just terribly boring. I had enough of that when I was in school. And sometimes you get the good instructors who actually know how to use PowerPoint, and it's a presentation guide, and there's a topic, and then they talk about the topic. It's not, here's 3 paragraphs, I'm going to read you 3 paragraphs that are on the screen, and as soon as 3 paragraphs of text show up on the screen, you start reading it because you don't want to wait to listen, and then you're not paying attention, and then you miss anything extra that was said, and it's just a mess. So I think PowerPoint is can be abused, and most often is used improperly. So I'll just not even bother with it because, that's fine. So you've got them there if you need them. Okay. So I've been talking for a while. I want to go get some coffee. Got to hydrate or dihydrate, and we'll take just a couple minutes. I'll put some music back on. Let's say we pick it back up at 11. I want to finish talking about some of the tools we're going to look at. I want to go over GitHub, and then not too much longer after we get back from break. And then on Thursday, we'll actually get into that review of the Java material, talk about our first lab, and we can go from there. Okay? All right. The marathon from I thought it was this year. I copy-pasted, and I thought I changed the year. The 8th. Yeah, so I'm doing it again. So I run the free every year. I've done it since 2014. Now it's been a lot of fun. 1 year I ran the half because it was a bad training year, and I was off for the pandemic year, so it's my 8th. I did a trail marathon with a buddy of mine, so I think I got the count right. It's 8. So I'm doing it again, so it should be fine there. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So let's take a break, put some music on, we'll come back in a little bit. Puts us out at about 11, right? Let's go like 11:02. Give us a couple minutes. I mean, by training for the marathon, I means I run. It's not like any serious ramping up mileage yet, but we'll get there. Alrighty. Hey, Rochelle, thank you so much for gifting a sub. That is so sweet. And just so you don't think I'm double dipping here, I got to turn the music down. With anything that Twitch sends my way, which so far has been doing this for 2.5 years or so, has been $100. It all gets donated to the Student Scholarship Fund over at the University of Michigan, Dearborn College of Engineering and Computer Science, where I'm both a student and a lecturer. It's kind of cool. So it all goes that way. And someone had asked me about ad blocker for Twitch. I'm not familiar with any myself, but if any of you folks find a good one that works out well, let me know or share it around with the class. That's fine. I guess that's the one downside of using Twitch. So Zoom doesn't have ads, but generally they're not too invasive. There's like one at the start, and I've just got like my getting started screen going anyway. So how's the volume been? Like mic looks like it keeps maxing out. That doesn't seem right, but I had to like reload a bunch of stuff yesterday because Zoom broke my computer, and I was really sad. Can't see. My glasses are all fogging up from going outside. This is awesome. All right, cool. All right, so we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about GitHub. I want to get you familiar with the tools. So again, GitHub is a public-facing tool as well. So make an account with whatever username handle you want. At some point, you'll probably want a professional-sounding one, but don't feel like you have to do that right now. Probably just don't go with like Princess Sassy Pants or something. At least just some sort of handle should be fine. But and what we're going to do is every assignment that you have will have a link that will generate a new repository. And a repository is just a folder, just a fancy word for folder. So I'm going to go to GitHub real quick and launch out. I'm going to make a new one. So the GitHub Classroom link will do all of this hard work for you, which is really nice. So you don't have to do any of this by hand. So this is my profile. You can find my previous classes, all the other stuff out here as well. So these are public repositories. It means anyone on the internet can go access them. You can also make private repositories where no one has access to them except you and anyone you specify. So using the GitHub Classroom tool that we have, it makes it so that I have access and you have access automatically. It makes life pretty good for us. I've had people who are kind of familiar with Git and GitHub in the past make their own repositories, and I would prefer you not to do that if you don't mind. Let's just all use the same ones for now. Later, if you'd like to take your classwork and put it into a public repository to kind of show off, hey, here's a project that I did that you thought was interesting, you're welcome to do it. But please wait until the class is over, or at least like until the project has been due. That way you're not putting out solutions to code where people can go find them, if that sounds okay with you. So I'm going to make a new repository for the class. So all the code examples that I do in class are going to show up here in this repository. And I'll post a link for it in a second here. So this is CIS 2151 or Winter 2022. So it's a public repository. Again, all the stuff I do in class will show up here. You don't have to log in or anything to see it. It'll make life easy. I want a README file. I want a git ignore file. These git ignore files are fantastic. They say don't add things to source control that you don't need in source control. So many languages are compiled languages like Java. When we write our Java code, it's just text. It's just English even. And it will get compiled into Java bytecode. You'll get those .class files. So anything that can be compiled doesn't need to go into source control because you only need the source and you can go build it or compile it yourself. So there's a bunch of built-in templates here, which all sorts of languages around. We're going to use the Java ignore here because we don't need to add all that other stuff. At that point, it's just kind of noise in the source control. You want to see what's changed in your code, not that your class file changes every single time you do something, because we expect that to have happen. And for me, I'm going to use a license. Your stuff is not licensed. You're welcome to do it if you want. MIT license is a nice open source, easy license to use. So I'll use that one for my repository. So you'll get a repository similar to this through the link. And I'll show you that on Thursday. Shouldn't be too bad. Then you'll also want that GitHub desktop client. So it's desktop.github.com. The license just says, hey, you're welcome to use anything that's out here. Just cite your source, essentially. There's all sorts of different open source licenses here. So like the summary of the MIT one. People can use it for commercial use. I don't expect anyone to use my stuff for that. But they're welcome to if they want. Sure, they're welcome to modify it, they're welcome to distribute it, they're welcome to use it privately. There is no warranty, and I have no liability if they use it and it goes badly. That's sort of the general, CYA, cover yourself here. That's all. So it's saying, hey, it is copyright stuff. Like, it's mine, so you can use it for whatever you want, but then you have to attribute your work here. So, yes, preserve the copyright and license notices. So, like, you can take MIT licensed software and use it in commercial software, but that portion that you've taken and used maintains its own MIT license and can be used by other people again. There's all sorts of other interesting licensing. Some of them are very specific around they may only be used in other open source projects. You can't use them commercially, like they don't allow for commercial use. And that's fine. If you write software, you can license it however you want. So it's a whole thing. So MIT is just a very permissive, very easy to use, simple one. I just go with that. Yeah, this is not legal advice, FYI. I like that. Yeah, it's just a template. That's all it is here. It just sticks in this little copyright notice here. Software is provided as is. Sorry, that's really tiny. I can zoom that a little bit here. Software is provided as is without warranty of any kind, express or implied, including but not limited. So whatever legalese that people have realized, we should probably do this here. So yep, that's all that one is. So the desktop client here, you go ahead and download that and then get logged into it. Once you have the desktop client installed and you're logged in, it's really easy to take your repository and go, the process is called cloning the repository. So right now, this is the GitHub Cloud, right? Their website. This is the latest and greatest version of anything in the repository. So I'm going to click this big old green code button and say Open with GitHub Desktop. It's going to launch the GitHub Desktop tool here and say, hey, do you want to make a copy of this? And yes, that's the process. So your desktop, your computer has a copy, and the cloud has a copy. Other people technically can have copies. Like, it's made as a distributed source control tool for enterprises to do software development, that sort of thing. For now, it's just you. But ideally, 20, 30, 40, 100 people could all have copies. We could all be making changes and do all sorts of cool stuff. We'll get into that more, not this class. I think they talk about that in software engineering. So it says, hey, we're going to make a copy of this website. This is the link to the repository, and we're going to put it here on your computer and make a folder. All a repository is a folder. That's all it is. A repository is a folder to store stuff. Ideally, code. Really, you can put anything you want in there, but we want to put code in there. So the default location is your user's documents GitHub / name of the repository. I like defaults. They make life easy. You're welcome to put it anywhere you want. Doesn't really matter. So I'm going to say clone, and it's going to go make a folder on my computer. In the GitHub desktop client, you've got two super handy shortcuts. So once you've picked your repository, hang on, it should refresh in a second here. There it goes. So my current repository is 2151 Winter 2022. You can click this current repository list. I've got a bunch of repositories for things. Don't worry about it here. No big deal. So you'll have one for every lab. I think we'll do one for every lab, and we'll have one for every project, and we'll have one for the final project. So you'll get a couple of them there. It just switches in between them, back and forth. From there, you can go to this repository menu, and you have two options. View on GitHub will launch back the website. If you go here and it says, hey, something's not found, you're probably not logged in. So like if I change the name here, add letter, it's going to say page not found. If you're getting page not found, check to make sure you're logged in. Check this top right, make sure that you are logged in, because it was from an existing repository. It should be there. If you're having other trouble, let me know. I can hop on it and take a look here. So that will launch the website again for you. Your sanity check to make sure that your code made it out to the github.com cloud is to view on GitHub. You should be able to see your code out here. Again, I haven't done anything yet, so that there's no place to check yet, nothing to see, but that's what you can do before you're done. Make sure everything worked. The other super helpful shortcut here is repository, show in Explorer. This will open up that folder on your computer. Right? Hey, this is inside of this folder is everything that's in the repository. You see there's a gitignore file, the license file, and a readme file. Readme.md for Markdown. You can make those things look pretty if you want. I don't really care about readmes too much, but that's this readme file has this in it, inside of it. So the GitHub website itself lets you view files, which is super handy. So I could say, hey, I want to look at that readme file. That's the contents of it. It's not very exciting. But that license file, hey, here's the license file. Like, we looked at the contents of it. Or the gitignore file. What are we ignoring? So anything jar, anything war, anything zip. anything .class. The star is the wildcard. So nothing that ends in .class will get committed to this GitHub repository. We're ignoring it because we can go compile and build those ourselves. Excuse me. So once I have that folder here, this is where I want to put my projects. So we're going to open up Netbeans. And the latest version out there is 12.6. You're probably best off at 12.6. I've had issues with some of the previous versions. Generally, the latest and greatest is the best. But if you have any issues, let me know. I think we're still running 11 actually on the virtual machines, or maybe like 12.0. I haven't even updated any of these version numbers, and it does work. So it all should. It just gets a little funny sometimes. So what I'm going to do in File Explorer here, if you click up in the white space, it'll highlight that whole path for you. And I'm just going to copy that. Control-C for copy or right-click copy. Because I need this path when I go make my next project. Because I want to put projects inside of this folder so that the Git source control tool can see them and I can do my magic. Now, again, a repository is just a folder. Git is a glorified file watcher. So if I just drop a file in here, Rochelle, 12.3 should work. I had issues with it running Java stuff for a while until I upgraded, but it should be fine. Yeah, I mean, any of them should work. We're not doing anything too particular that you'll need latest and greatest versions for, but if you run into issues, let me know. So I'm going to put a new text file in here. Where'd it go? Here's my text file. Oh my! I just upgraded to Windows 11 last night to try and fix my computer, and now I'm really sad. How is there not a text file? They got rid of that option. That's super depressing. I don't want any of these. I want a text file. Why is there not a text file option? That's really sad. Customize that menu. All right, that's fine. That's okay. Let's just do this. I'm just going to copy paste a file in here. Here we go. So now we have a license copy. Sure. When you come back to the GitHub client, if it sees new files, you're going to get a nice green button here on the left. So this is all the files that have changed. And then you can click file by file by file to see the contents of what's changed inside of that file. It's really handy. And I'll show you that with the Java project in just a second. So anything you drop in here, Git will see. Now, until you commit, it's in just on your local computer, and the cloud doesn't know about it, just your computer has it. So this idea of making a commit is a snapshot of the folder at that point in time. And you can make as many commits as you want, they're free. The only thing you have to do for a commit is give it a summary message. So you put some message here. Ideally, your summary message is something meaningful because you can see what you wrote in this commit here in the website. It's nice and easy. This description box you can get to eventually. Organizations have different conventions around what should go where. I could care less really, but ideally something meaningful, like here's copy of license. Why not? Sure. So I'll say commit, and now this view is going to go away because nothing's changed. I have a commit now. I have a snapshot of everything, and what's inside the folder matches that snapshot. So there's been no changes since that last commit, since that last snapshot. But it's telling me, hey, I've got a local commit waiting to be pushed to GitHub. So I have something the GitHub.com cloud does not have. Until I push and synchronize, it won't be out on GitHub.com. So I got to make sure I push, then I can come back to the website and refresh, and I should see my license copy. So now you can see, hey, the license copy made it out to GitHub.com. So that's my sanity check. Did it make it out to GitHub.com? It's silly we didn't really need it here, but that's fine. All right, so one more time, I'm going to grab this path here for my my repository, and over in Netbeans, if it ever loads, it's not the fastest tool. So let's Google 11. Click. I can't type today. Click new text file. This has got to be a thing, right? How to fix the new PC Gamer, how to fix the new right-click menu. There we go. Fewer entries. You can add 7-zip, that's fine. There's a show more options. Goodness. Okay, you can restore classic context menus. There we go. In regedit, I don't know if I want to do that right now. That's not helpful. New text document. Microsoft.com. Well, so we can Google this. Zip. New text document. Oh, no. Registry key. Huh. Okay, apparently I can edit my registry. I'll try that later because I really like that. Right click. Yeah, Windows. Everything is just a registry edit away. All right, so back in NetBeans here. Oh, I can close all these projects down. We don't need any of those other ones. Come on, NetBeans. So I'm going to close all the projects. And in a second, we'll start a new project. It's very exciting, I promise. This is not even like an old computer. It's like 2.5-ish years old. I was telling myself I should get a new one last semester, and I put it off. I might need to just get a new one. We'll see. I think that'll just slow down too. It's trying to open the projects I tried to close. It's testing. Close the projects. Open them. Okay, they all closed. Good. So I'm going to do File, New Project. Now, the easiest project to get up and running with is Java with Ant. The Maven and Gradle should work for you, but again, they do a little more than we need them to. So Java with Ant is our preferred go-to project here. So Java with Ant, Java application. Now, this is where we need to pay attention. Sorry, it's really small up on the screen here, but it says, hey, where do you want to put this project? I don't want to put it in my Documents NetBeans projects. I want to put it in that repository folder. I'm going to paste in my path, or you can click Browse and go through, find it yourself. Either way is fine. And I'm going to say this one is Hello World. Okay, so a Hello World project inside of my repository folder, and life is good. Don't check this Use Dedicated folder for storing libraries. Weird stuff happens when you do that one. And yes, you want it to create a main class. Please auto-generate some code for me. We love when NetBeans auto-generates code. Yeah, NetBeans is a little slow, unfortunately. It's not the sharpest tool in the shed, but it does a lot, which is nice. All right, it's going to make our project. There we go. And now in the folder, here you'll see there's a Hello World folder, right? So this is in my repository folder because I said put the project here. It made a folder named Hello World. Inside of that is some more folders and files. The NB project is the NetBeans project files. Pretty much don't mess with anything in here. There's a SRC or source folder, and then some build and manifest stuff. So we care about source. So source is going to be where our code is. So inside of source, there's another folder named Hello World, all lowercase. Remember, Java convention for packages is all lowercase, no spaces. So the Hello World folder is the package named Hello World, and then inside of that, we'll have our helloworld.java file with the capital letters Hello World and everything. So in NetBeans, this little tree view is helpful, right? I'm going to open up my project, open up my sources, open up the Hello World package, and I can see helloworld.java. Right? All these comments I get rid of. I'm tempted to edit the template, but now we see, hey, this is the package, right? Because it's inside a folder. We see the name of the class, letter for letter matches. And we see public static void main string args. To do code application here. This is where we're going to put stuff. So again, NetBeans is full of shortcuts. I use them all the time. So if you type SOUT and hit tab, it will auto-complete system.out.println and put in some quotes for you. So if you're typing out this all up by hand, you're working harder than you need to. Be like a good programmer and be lazy. And I mean that in the nicest sense. Right? Good programmers are efficiently lazy. We're not doing more things than we need to. So, and we just say hello world, and give it a run. So we'll go ahead and run, and we should get an output of hello world. This is our quick little sanity check. Did things work for us here in Java land? Let's take a look. Maybe. Hello world. All right, successful. So program is working. Now I'm going to go back to my GitHub client and it should say, hey, there's a bunch of new stuff. Right? All these green things mean things are new. And hey, git ignore changed. Let it change. It's happy. It's saying, hey, don't add things that are in this private folder and don't add things that are in a build folder. The build folder, right, we can generate. That's the build. When we build our project, it puts stuff in here. So we don't need that. We only need the source code. And we're not making use of anything in private here, but it will exclude anything that does go in that private directory. Then you see all sorts of other junk files, these XML files, property files. We don't care about any of those. Go on down the list. Make sure you can find the helloworld.java file or whatever your Java file is. The code looks good here. I can see my systemout.println, hello world. Life is good. I'm going to make a commit. So this is hello world. We'll commit, and then we will push. Right? Now, so I've got it locally in my snapshot. I need to push it out to github.com to make sure it's there. And then I'm going to sanity check, go to the website, hit refresh, or go to the link repository view on GitHub, and I can see now there's a folder. So on the website, any text-based files you can go view. So if it's a folder, when you click it, you'll just see the contents of that folder. So you got to click 2 times into the source here, and I can see helloworld.java. You can go find this here. So this is fantastic. If you can get your code out to github.com, I can help you with it because I can see it. You don't need to send me attachments. We don't have to deal with any of that nonsense. I don't have to compile it. You just say, hey, here's the URL of where my code is, and because I have access to it and you have access to it in your private repositories, I can see it. The other really cool thing you can do is all of these line numbers are clickable. So I can say, hey, I'm having a problem at line 7 here. The URL now says this #7. By the way, that's a £, not a hashtag. I'm old enough to remember when it was called a £, and I'm stubborn enough to keep calling it that. So, hey, it'll take me right to line 7 when I look at your code, and I can see exactly where you were when you were having trouble. Life is good. Like, this is made for code collaboration. But enterprises use this tool. It's fantastic. So that's what we're going to do for that. Yeah, an OpenAI collaboration. Yeah. In the world record run. So this is GitHub. We're going to spend on Thursday, we'll do our review, Java chapters 1 through 6, breezing through all things Java fundamentals. Some people don't take 1500 and then 2151 right away, so there's a little bit of a refresher gap there. If you had 1500 last semester, my apologies. You might be a little bit bored. Feel free to zone out. You'll be fine. Just pick up the lab assignment, and that's okay. I'll try and call it anything interesting, but not too big of a deal there. So our first lab will be slightly more interesting than a Hello World, but essentially a basic Hello World project. Can you get your GitHub tools up and running, get code, get it to github.com, follow the link so I can see your code. If everyone can do that on the very first lab, I feel much better about them being able to do it on all the future labs and projects. And we can go from there, okay? Cool. So I don't think I've got anything else today. Take some time, install the tools if you don't have them yet, or get familiar with the virtual desktop. And we'll make sure that you're up and running. On Thursday, then, we'll have our first actual assignment. The other thing to do out here, not this one, there is a syllabus quiz you can take. Looks like 2 people already took it. Thank you. It's free points. It's essentially answering questions about the syllabus, right? Which hopefully we've already gone over. So I want to look at it real quick and show you. As there's one, I guess 2 important questions I want to highlight here. And you can take it over. So if you get it wrong, you can retake it again. Don't sweat it too much. So how do you contact me? Tools for the class. How do you watch lectures? If you're not sure about something, what things you can do. If you're not sure about an assignment, what you should do. Please don't answer do nothing. This is a terrible answer. Attending our tutoring sessions. Again, you can get an extra point on the weekly quizzes if you go to see individual tutors. Trying to encourage people to use those no additional charge resources. If your schedule doesn't let you do that, and you want to meet with me for my office hours, I'm happy to give you the point for that too. Like I don't mean to exclude people who are busy during the week. So just let me know. But it's just 1 point on the quizzes, so it's not like a huge bonus, but there's something there, right? Work isn't taken late. For my office hours, generally I'll book 15 to 30 minutes worth of time out in that chunk for you. So let me know. So it's first come, first serve for office hours. It's not like a physical office where it's just walk in or you have to make a line. So generally everything's reservation. So if you want to meet with me at a specific time, make sure I'm free that time because I might have already reserved it with someone else. We can chat either on Discord messages, we can hop on Zoom, we can do all sorts of things. You can even do an old-fashioned phone call if that's your thing. I'll be around pretty much at my desk at my home office during my office hours, so pretty quick responses because I don't have class at those times. If you just want to chat about general tech, also anything interesting, I always like to nerd out, all sorts of things, that's fine. All right, here's the interesting one. So a college course generally requires about 2 hours worth of work outside the class for every hour inside the class. So us being a 4-credit class means we're spending 4 hours a week in class. That means outside of class is 8 hours a week or so. So a single class here is a 12-hour-a-week commitment. I'd like you to plan those days and times that you'll be spending those 12 hours. If you're doing the synchronous live Twitch stuff, okay, it's Tuesday, Thursday, 10 to noon. That's the 4 hours of in-class time. Where are those 8 hours going to be where you're going to work on quizzes, you're going to work on your reading, you're going to work on your project, you're going to work on your labs? Where are you fitting that time into your schedule? So be intentional about setting that aside, because if your plan is, oh, when I have free time, that free time it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and we get to the end of the week and closer to due dates and things, and then we're out of free time, and then it's sad. So plan ahead. And then the last one here, this is my part of the documentation that goes to the dean if I have to fail people. You are agreeing that you have read and understood the course policy on plagiarism and cheating. You will fail if you cheat. Okay? Cheating includes plagiarism, which is turning in someone else's work with your name on it. Okay? This is you acknowledging you did it. So when I fail people, I send it all to the dean. I say, look, they told me they understood the policy. The policy says, please ask questions if you're not sure, this sort of thing. Apparently, there's a process in which the sanction can be overturned and the student won't fail the course. In the 10 years I've done this, it's never happened. And I have failed upwards of 50 plus people now, which is really depressing to have that high of a count. I don't enjoy it. I know it comes off like I'm real jerky and enjoy this sort of thing. I hate doing it. I really do. It's depressing to fail people. So just don't cheat. Okay? And we'll be in good shape. So that's it for the syllabus quiz. So 10 free points there, essentially a freebie on the quiz. This goes into that same quiz category as all the other weekly quizzes we'll do. So we'll probably, I don't know if I want to do a quiz on chapters 1 through 6 on Thursday or not. We'll see. We'll talk about it on Thursday. Just a reminder, again, fully remote. Won't be here in the classroom. A dad joke. Brian the Taco Man, you got it. Yeah, contact me through Discord to set up office hours, email, phone, whatever you want to contact me with here. And then because Twitch is fun, there's all sorts of channel point redemption rewards. So the longer you sit around and watch, the more points you get. I have a pack of knock-knock jokes. I have a pack of dad jokes. I screenshot dad jokes here. Let's see what we got. Our first one. How does a penguin build its house? He glues it together. All right, there we go. That wasn't too bad. Some of them are real bad, but I guess that's kind of the point. All right. And here we go. Knock, knock. Who's there? Dishes. Dishes who? Dishes the police. Come out with your hands up. All right, that was a bit of a stretch. They're not great, but I think that's the point. Yep. All right, another knock, knock joke. You got it. E404. All right, yeah, so your book, if it hasn't come in yet, don't stress. Again, the PowerPoints should be more than sufficient for the recaps here. We're not getting anything new yet. Knock, knock. Who's there? Radio. Radio who? Radio not. Here I come. Okay, I liked that one. That was a good one. Womp womp. Yep. All right, so if you have any questions, thoughts, concerns, let me know. You got all my contact info. If not, we'll plan for Thursday. If I don't have to drive in, it should be a lot easier to actually start right at 10. Usually I start some music up. I know there are the Twitch ads, like when you first hit the stream for 30 seconds or whatever. So the first little bits, the intro track here, this Shaping the Silence is another streamer. He does his music engineering on stream, which is kind of cool to watch. And he gives it away, the DMCA free stuff. So I use his music, which is cool. I've got a couple other ones I might try, but that's worked out pretty well for me so far. So Yep, so let me know what I can do for you. Again, ask me questions, happy to help, and we can go from there. All right, thanks folks online. I'll see you around.